Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny Tunes. It's Destiny here. So I've mentioned this before, but I genuinely think that analog horror has to be one of my favorite animation genres here on YouTube, and I have yet to really find one that I haven't enjoyed. From Are You Happy?, The Hunt Among the Green, and The Mysterious House, analog horror has always found a place here on my channel, and to add on to this list, I'll be talking about the analog horror video titled My Wonderful Family. So My Wonderful Family is a pilot episode, which excites me, especially seeing what could be in store for this series if it doesn't fall victim to the unfortunate YouTube pilot curse that has robbed us of so many amazing projects. But with all that being said, let's talk a little bit more about My Wonderful Family. The pilot starts off with Charlie and his mom in a taxi cab heading to his grandparents' house for a trip he doesn't really want any part of. Right off of the bat, I was very interested in the art direction of this video. I don't really know how to explain this art style. All I know is that it kind of reminds me of the show Charlie and Lola in a sense, sort of like an animated collage, if you will. Now, the analog horror scene is constantly growing, so having something that helps you stand out is always going to be a plus, and this art style isn't one that I've commonly seen in animation in general, so I just had to take a moment to speak on that. So along with the animation, this pilot did a really good job of capturing the beauties of analog horror that I really enjoy, like not relying on jump scares and utilizing things like the background, movement, and even the music to set the tune of pending dread. So aside from the title, this pilot heavily implies that this series is going to be exploring the mysteries within this family and probably some dark secrets surrounding the grandparents' house. So with family being such a big part of this pilot, I want to dive a little deeper into the dynamics between the family members and also discuss some of the things that I noted about each of these characters. First up, let's talk about Charlie, since he does appear to be our main character. Right off of the bat, Charlie kind of gives like brat vibes, like just bad kid vibes. Now, I do love it when kids are able to properly defend themselves and speak out about the things that they aren't comfortable with, but there's something about the way that Charlie moves that feels more disrespectful rather than a kid standing up for himself. We kind of see this in the way that his mother has to basically beg him to behave properly, and his flat out smart aleck remarks towards not only his mom, but everyone else around him. Now, don't get me wrong, his family is nowhere near kind-hearted, but his mom appears to be the exception to this, and he seems to be pretty rude to her as well. So I'm assuming that this is just the way he is by nature, which kinda is a bummer, but it might come in handy in this particular situation that he's in. Based on what I've already said about Charlie and his behavior, it's pretty obvious that he doesn't get along with any of his family members. His grandpa appears to be the person he despises the most, and we see them verbally attacking each other multiple times throughout this pilot. His relationship between him and his grandma seems to be more fear-driven than anything else, based on the single interaction that they have with each other. Now, Charlie's grandpa is, well, for lack of a better word, a dick in all aspects. You know that one annoying family member who talks politics at the dinner table and is extremely judgmental? Yeah, that's the grandpa. He also doesn't appear to have a good relationship with any of his family members. In fact, I feel like it's safe to say that no one in this family feels close at all. Even the relationship that the grandpa has with his wife doesn't feel like one rooted in love, as she kind of just growls stuff at him and he just goes with it. They've been married for decades and he still isn't able to find out certain things about his wife, and honestly, that's kind of concerning, especially considering who his wife is. Uncle Oliver seems the most quote-unquote normal aside from Charlie and his mom. He's also the only family member that Charlie's mom has a relationship with, and honestly, I kind of understand why. Although he does appear to be the snobby particular type, he doesn't give off the same judgmental vibe as his dad. In fact, he is also a victim of his dad's criticisms. The grandpa mentions that he should have sent Uncle Oliver to military school when he had a chance, which I assume would be to like toughen him up or something, because he also compares Charlie to Uncle Oliver when he whines about his food, so I'm assuming that he sees this as like not masculine or something. I don't know, weird macho man stuff. Now, Charlie's mom seems to be the most calm out of the other family members. She hardly even speaks throughout this entire pilot, and as soon as the interactions between her and her father start, I understood why she doesn't have a close relationship with any of her family members besides her brother. The vibe given off feels like Charlie's mom is almost afraid of her family, or should I say specifically afraid of her dad. Her body language is submissive and timid, and when her dad makes a totally and unnecessary weight comment directed at her, she doesn't even try to defend herself, which again tells me that she has either learned to stay quiet around her parents, or she honestly is just afraid to say anything. Now, Charlie, on the other hand, is extremely outspoken and quickly snaps back at his grandpa. Like, it's good to see that at least one of these characters isn't afraid to speak up against him. There isn't any mention of Charlie's dad in the pilot, so I'm not sure if he's in the picture or not. Maybe that'll be something that they explore later on. But lastly, let's talk about the grandma. So I'm pretty sure that grandma isn't even a human being. Do I know what she is then? Nope. But whatever it isn't human. She eats the crows from outside, leaving feathers in her husband's mouth after kissing him. She literally climbs the walls of the house at night like a spider. And the way that she communicates sounds more like growling mumbles rather than actual words. Everyone seems to be afraid of her to some degree, and I have a feeling that there's definitely something darker going on here. So going back to the dinner table scene, we find out that Charlie and his mom are at her parents' house to celebrate grandma's birthday. In the beginning of this video, I was a bit worried, especially when Charlie mentioned the fact that his grandma doesn't just invite people to her house out of the blue. This immediately made me feel like this could have been some sort of trap or something, but I guess that it's just for a birthday celebration. For now, dun dun dun. No, but let me be serious. Towards the end of the episode is when more and more questions start to appear. There's a scene after dinner where Charlie is heading to the room where he'll be sleeping, and there looks to be a figure standing in a dark room. The fact that Charlie's grandpa was quick to steer him away from seeing what was in the room tells me everything that I needed to know. Either there's something even scarier than grandma in that room, or they're keeping someone trapped and hiding them in the room. I'm leaning more towards the second option based off of something that I saw in a short posted by the creator where the family is singing a dysfunctional version of A Christmas Carol and the grandma is speaking in that same mumbled fashion that I mentioned before, only it sounded like she was speaking backwards as well. Now, I am someone who watches everything with subtitles, and it's because of that that I was able to catch the secret message the grandma was saying, disguised as mumbo jumbo. She says, "I believe my daughter has been kidnapped. I want my daughter back." I wasn't expecting this message to come from the grandma of all people, but it does leave me with so many more questions. Could that be grandma's missing daughter in that dark doorway? Is grandma possibly just repeating something that she's heard someone else say, and she's actually the one who's kidnapping people's children? Like, there has to be a reason why the grandpa warns Charlie to lock his door before going to sleep because grandma sleepwalks. But is it because she might end up taking and hurting Charlie? Or is she up wandering looking for her missing daughter and grandpa just doesn't want her getting into these rooms? There's so many questions, and that short only left me needing and wanting more. All of this truly leaves me wondering if the grandma's current state is a result of some previous trauma maybe, or if she really is just non-human. At this point, we just aren't given enough information to come to a solid conclusion about anything, but there definitely is something sketchy going on here, and I feel like there is something more sinister, a more sinister reason that Charlie and his mother were invited to this house. It would be a really interesting twist if grandma's daughter is the one who's missing, but it's really hard to believe that this character has any sense of like maternal instinct, especially when she doesn't stand up for her children children, and in the scene where Charlie is meant to tell her happy birthday and give her a hug, she doesn't seem to have any sort of connection with Charlie, seeing that that is her grandson or her family member. In fact, it was terrifying and very heartless, emotionless. So I'm really confused on what's going on here, but again, that would be a really cool twist, rather than the very common like kidnapping kids and eating kids trope that we see commonly used in analog horror. Now, I'm not against it, I do like it, but it would be really interesting to see like a switch up. But with all that being said, I was really satisfied with this pilot episode. There was just enough to keep you engaged with the content, but also left you with a lot to look forward to, and these are the best ingredients for a good pilot, so I'm definitely going to keep my eye out for when more episodes of this series drop, because I have to know more about the lore of this family and what's truly going on at that grandparents' house. Like, there's something bad going on here. But of course, I'm going to link the full episode down in my description below, so definitely go and check it out for yourselves. Come up with your own theories and conclusions and things like that. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure to like it, subscribe, and comment down below. Also, turn on those notifications so you never miss a video in the future. Thank you guys so much. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!